You're listening to The Modern Mainframe, BMC's intelligent C optimization and transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues in the mainframe, and how BMC AMI solutions can help you make change your competitive advantage. Hello, welcome to The Modern Mainframe. I'm Matt Dallaire. Today we're talking about keeping runaway Abend notifications under control with BMC AMI DevX Abend. Joining me are BMC Lead Product Manager Mark Schettenhelm, Principal Solution Engineer Roland Kinsman, and DevOps Architect and Evangelist Tony Anter. Mark, Roland, Tony, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
So we've had a podcast in the past about Abend notifications, and I'll include a link to that in the show notes. But there's somewhat of a new term floating around, chat ops. Mark, can you give a quick explanation of chat ops and its advantages?
Let me give you an example. For BMC AMI DevX Abend, it can set a notification, a webhook notification to a user, and you can put that into Slack or Teams. And it will send that message as if it were a member of your team. But in this case, it would inform your team that a program that they were monitoring has abended. And it would give information on the abend, like the program, the type of abend, and a link to get the report so you can interact with it. And it's that notification so that you can know immediately that it occurred, and then everybody can work on it. They'll see that chat and they'll go, oh, I'll fix it, and oh, here's the fix, and let the team know. It's making it more interactive. It can also create automated trouble tickets. So that same abend could go over to ServiceNow or to BMC Helix and create a trouble ticket.
And as you just mentioned, and you mentioned this before in a couple of blog posts, and I'll post those links too, but it's like having another member of the team.
Exactly. It really makes this abend notification part of the team so you don't have to work with it.
More and more you're seeing this in the industry too. You're seeing a lot more people bring chat ops and tooling like that into play to make there be less time between or less space between development and operations.
Right. To that end, it allows teams that are geographically dispersed and time zone dispersed to work together and have a chance to collaborate.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
So we were talking the other day about runaway abends. What are those? Can you explain that a little bit, Tony?
So runaway abends are the idea that you have a single error that comes out, and then that single error, when you multiply that by the number of users, let's say it's somebody on a mobile app and they're trying to check the balance on their bank account. Now, all of a sudden, that one person becomes 10 people, becomes 100 people, becomes 1,000 people, becomes 100,000 people, right? Now you have a major issue on your hands. And you want to try to catch those runaway abends as soon as possible.
So, Tony, I had an example of that happen in my personal life through a financial app. I was trying to send money to someone electronically. It was just a person-to-person transaction, but it kept coming back with some unknown failure. I finally got on the line with the support from my bank, and they said, well, we're going to have to escalate this. It's going to take us a couple of days to address it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a back-end failure every time I tried to do that transaction.
Well, yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, this is from the other side of this when you're on the, when you're at the bank and you're the guy who has to take care of these issues. These kind of errors, these kind of runaway events, they have a tendency to snowball. They snowball into much larger issues. So it's like anything. It's like going to the doctor. If you can catch something early, you can very easily treat it and make sure that there's no problems before it becomes a major issue.
Right. And this is where, as I said before, we had these notifications. And we worked in those, actually we're specifically asked to by our customers to make sure that this duplicate suppression that we have an Abend date was on. And what that says is if an Abend occurs once, send the notification. If that exact same Abend, so same code, same program, same location in the program, the exact same Abend occurs, we won't send a notification the second time or the 100th time or 1,000th time. We'll just bump up a counter and keep track of those. And so you get notified the first, but you don't get notified anymore. So that way you don't get inundated. That's a good thing. But what we're doing is actually flipping that over so that we're now enabling a new feature where we have thresholds. Roland, could you get into how ops would use that?
Right. So ops could set a threshold, 100, 1,000, 10,000, whatever is meaningful in your operation. And when it hits that threshold, at that point, it could trigger a webhook and they could be alerted that they've got what I like to call an Abend storm.
I mean, nothing in the world bothers me worse than being told by my users or by my customers that there's a problem. In this day and age, your customer should never do that. And if you have the capability for the system to prioritize errors as they start to ramp up, then that gives you the ability to cut off runaway issues before they really take effect, before they really start affecting your systems. And I mean, that would be of immense value to me.
I have to imagine it helps keep track of issues as well, because if you're getting 1,000 notifications on one Abend and something else happens in the middle, you're probably going to miss it.
Yeah, possibly. It's just a really good way to prioritize things and say, this Abend keeps occurring. It hasn't been fixed and it needs attention before it gets out of hand.
So how do users set up this feature?
It's real easy. It's an enhancement to our web interface called Common Enterprise Services. And the process for setting up this threshold is pretty intuitive.
Right. It's just a field there that on duplicates with a duplicate threshold, and you put in the number at which you want to be notified.
So what you're saying, Mark, is basically the flip of a switch can turn this on.
Yes.
And if you're already an Abend customer, this is just a matter of toggling. If you're not an Abend customer, this is a fantastic feature for you to want to explore, probably one of the best Abend tools in the industry, right?
Definitely.
And you bring up a really good point, Tony. This isn't something we're charging extra for. If you're already an Abend customer, this is available to you.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just, I think if we think of Abend, it's Abend analysis. So it occurred, and it tells me right away what it is. And it's a huge time saver. And it's an expert system. It's that, but what we're talking about with these new things we've done is really cutting down on that time in the notification. Because if it's running on the mainframe, it's mission critical, right? That's the applications on the mainframe are core systems. So an Abend there is an issue and you need to respond. And if you can cut off seconds, minutes, that matters. And that's what this does by the automatic trouble ticket creation, by notifying your team, and especially letting you know that this has the potential to be a runaway Abend. That's important information so you can jump on it and resolve things faster so that the users have a better user experience.
All right, well, I think we've covered everything. Mark, Roland, Tony, thanks for joining us today and talking about this.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, thanks a lot.
As always, thank you to our listeners. We'll talk to you next time on The Modern Mainframe. Take care. You're listening to The Modern Mainframe, BMC's intelligent C optimization and transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues in the mainframe and how BMC AMI solutions can help you make change your competitive advantage.